Intro music.
Overview narration.
Doctor!
My name is James,
My name is Joey.
and this is the Brothers Padre.
James, it's the week that June 1st is in.
Today is June 1st.
I forgot. I always forget. How do you, is it the week of the last Sunday of the week? Is it the week of the first day? I always get confused. The great debate about when does a week actually end? When does it start? You familiar with this debate, James?
Yes, but we're not a debate show.
The Brothers Timekeepers is what we're actually should be called. Regardless, James.
Time, is it useful? Let's discuss.
Time. 4 out of 10. Wish there was more of it. See what I did there? Okay. James, the Padres have made it through Memorial Day.
They have, yes.
And we have lots of topics to talk about. This is the Brothers Padres we say. Remember to follow us on Twitter. Remember to subscribe. All that fun stuff. But we're a Padres podcast. We've looked back at the past 2 months. There's an adage in baseball, James, called "You are who you are by Memorial Day." That is not a life statement. That's a baseball statement.
And we're the best in baseball, so
I think we're pretty good.
pretty good, yeah. I think we've achieved our goal.
Yeah, I guess we're doing a little. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about what are your worries so far? What are your hopes? What are your excitement? What's your general feeling so far?
It's difficult because the Padres are so very rarely number one, and we are, and everything that we thought they were going to be, they have achieved. Mm-hmm. I think if there's any worry so far, it's we need to shore up our starting pitching.
Yeah,
and
so
yeah, they need to shore up our starting pitching. They need just obviously our pitching is very good. We're number one in baseball, but we need pitchers to go into the 6th inning. We need Snell and Paddock to have string together at least 5 consistent starts. And it just that's the thing that we need to happen, because we're going to burn out our bullpen and then we're just going to collapse. I think, and this is just something that's been bugging me lately, and it's only been a couple weeks. Do the Padres, players, offense, do you know you could score in the first 7 innings? I mean, 1 through 7, you could totally score in them. As a fan, I'd be okay with it. I mean, it just seems like over this past weekend we had 4 extra inning games, and even when we lost to the Cubs, we didn't do our scoring until the 9th inning. We can score the first 7. It does it's really okay.
I piggyback on that a little bit. So currently the Padres bullpen is projected to have the most innings thrown in franchise history. We didn't really design our baseball team like the Rays. The Rays famously do this, where they just bring out legions of relievers. We didn't really design our bullpen to do that. So that points exactly the problem you're saying. They're throwing so many innings because we have a person named Yu Darvish who on average is a 6 inning start to 7 inning starts. But then there's 4 or 5 question marks that we don't really see the 6th inning at all. Snell been struggling as of late, not getting past the 5th. Paddock not getting past the 5th. Weathers not even getting past the 5th. And same with Lamet. And Musgrove has, thankfully. This week's a little different. We'll talk about one other topic I want to talk about is how we use Musgrove. But we have 2 starters. I think confidently I could say Darvish and Musgrove can wear 6 to 7 innings, but the rest of them, I don't know. I just don't know if they actually can do it. And that's a problem because we just need to have more innings because our bullpen is the best in baseball, but you can only be so good and be so tired. Like you can't. I mean, the more tired you get, the less good you get. It's just that's also a life statement.
That's human nature. Yes.
Yeah. Pretty deep pod so far.
Pretty deep pod. Yeah.
Yeah, we need someone consistent. We need another. I think we need before the All-Star break. We need to have one of those guys, Lamet, Weathers, or Paddock, just really give us length. I don't even care about quality starts. The quality start is traditionally 6 innings pitched, and 3 runs or less allowed. I'd be okay with 4 to 5 runs and 6 inning pitch at this point. I'm gonna need to see a little bit more because we can't. I mean, this Houston series this past weekend came off of a 2 extra inning game for the Brewers and then 2 extra inning games against the Astros. That destroys the bullpen. It just does. You can't really win those games and not ruin your bullpen. So our bullpen has got trashed around, and so we need that length, and that's definitely the biggest worry. I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
I think I don't know if I have any really worries around that. There's always the worry that we have about offense. I think there's a lot of the guys aren't clicking just yet. I think that Machado's still a little injured. I think since the Dodgers series, the first at-home Dodgers series, he just has been playing through stuff. He's the kind of player he is. He does actually wants to play every single game. But he puts a competitive bat, and the past few games, he may not have had like power numbers, but he keeps getting big hits, pinch hit doubles, extra inning singles to score runs. So he's a guy I'm not super worried about. I think that the guys that I'm interested to see kind of like offense-wise, what I'm worried about, I think it's a team thing. I think it's what he said. So I want us to see us decisively win games early from the offense, and we just
Score
haven't
runs before the 7th inning.
We've seen that a couple times this year, but we haven't really like when we have done it, it's because of our legs. In the Brewers series, we beat Burns not because of homers, because we were very smart base runners, got on base, and just kept stealing. I don't mind that. We just gotta keep doing that. Yeah, so I guess my biggest offensive worry is I worry that down the stretch, our bullpen is gonna be very good, and they'll let games get away from us. So even if we come back, like think about the 2 games we've lost this past week, Brewers and the Astros. And I guess yesterday's game at the Cubs. The Brewers and Astros, when I'm focused on that. Like even those 9th innings, we scored 3 runs. So like if we're close enough, we can get there. But that distance becomes larger and larger if the bullpen gets tired and the offense doesn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
But James, speaking on that, that's the thing I want to talk about on Sunday. Blake Snell started against the Astros, had a rough start. Well, we'll go over the details on the recap episode. But one thing I want to talk to you about is Jace Tingler made a decision in the 4th inning.
Third
inning. So no, Blake Snell threw 3 innings in the 4th inning.
Oh, that's right. They pulled him out. Yeah.
Well, I guess he was warming up in the 3rd. Regardless, Joe Musgrove came in the 4th inning and just pitched 5 innings. Basically giving all the bullpen a day off. We lost that game, but in spite of that, Joe Musgrove threw a no hit 5 innings where he shut the Astros offense down.
Shut him just down. It was one of his 3rd most dominant pitching performance of the year.
Yeah.
And it was out of the bullpen.
What are your thoughts around it? Because it's kind of polarizing at this point. Why is it polarizing? Because he would have pitched yesterday, as a starter, but because he a team guy, he's like, I'll just do whatever necessary. He basically was. I don't know if he could be a dominant mop-up person, but he was a dominant mop-up pitcher. So, what are your thoughts around it?
Whether or not he should have done it, I think it was commendable for him to do it
Right.
Jace Tingler, you saw Jace Tingler patting him on the back and telling him he did a phenomenal job at the end of the game because he saved his team. That was a heroic effort from Jace Tingler.
Right.
Our offense was just as tired as our bullpen. They'd been playing, if you take all the 4 extra inning games, it was like 24 hours worth of baseball they were playing. It was a ridiculous amount of numbers. I'll find out for the recap episode how many. I think it was plus 21 hours of baseball.
There's I think 4 plus 5-hour games, something like that. Very bad.
Yeah, they're ridiculous amount of time. Yeah. The offense was just as tired as the bullpen, but we still scored 2 runs. Musgrove came in and saved the day. It would suck that we lost, but I'm glad that he did it. As far as questioning Jace Tingler whether he should have done it, if Musgrove pitched the next day, would we have won? Look, if you go back and listen to the recap episode, the roundup episode last week, I predicted we're going to hit a game in Chicago with the wind's blowing out. The wind was blowing out yesterday, and several Cubs just hit a ball in the air, and literally it took off into the jet stream and was a home run. Whether Musgrove would have been able to avoid it or not, I don't know. It's hard to say. It would have been a hard game for anyone to win because of when the wind blows out, Wrigley.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen. I think it made me love Joe Musgrove even more. Heroic effort. Do I want to see the Padres keep doing this? No.
No.
Can the Padres keep doing this? No. For this one time, the circumstances demanded a hero step up and sacrifice himself. And Joe Musgrove, being a hero, stepped up and sacrificed himself. He was like, the 300 standing in the way of the gap. Look, I'm going to stop you now.
Yeah.
Our team's losing, but you're not going to beat us by any more.
I think, because of that, we have...
I should have used an Alamo analogy. They're in Texas. Joe Musgrove was like the Alamo.
Was he... I want to say David Crockett. Not David Crockett. Who's the other guy in the Alamo?
Daniel Boone.
Thank you.
Not Daniel Boone.
Aaron Boone. No,
Aaron Boone's Bowie.
David Bowie.
David Bowie was
changes. And who'd have thought the Mexican government was not intimidated by that? So they took the Alamo. So deep pod. Deep
pod. Now you learn on history, not correct history, but
also Alamo's San Antonio, not Houston. We're just ruining it all.
Oh, I'm just saying I could have used an Alamo analogy. I don't know anything that Houston's famous for other than the space program.
Yeah, cheating. Yeah. What a duo.
What a duo.
I go back and forth on the Musgrove thing. I think he would have done okay yesterday against the Cubs. But I don't know. So thinking that you and I have been blessed to be managers in our lives, not major league managers, but people managers. So we understand the toil that people have, right? We're all tired because this thing happened, this big event happened or whatever. And you and I have empathy. And so we kind of see that like from our people, like, hey, if I could bring in someone for this shift and give everyone a break, you're probably going to do it, right?
Yes.
You're going to be like, hey, if I can bring in this dead ringer of an employee who somehow takes over the burden of all the other employees to help us get a rest, you kind of will do it, right? Yeah. I think you and I both agree on that, right? So like from a people perspective, it's a very big, like the bullpen loves that move. The bullpen adores Joe Musgrove, right?
They should have bought him some steak dinner.
However, it's like the point of baseball is to win games. And if we weren't going to win Sunday, why didn't we just call up anyone to pitch 5 innings yesterday? Like, if it was an outside chance for us to win anyway with Blake Snell, who's been struggling. I mean, I think the game plan wasn't to say, hey, Blake Snell's going to cover. Like, before the game, Tingler had this contingency plan. I'm going to bring Musgrove in if I need be. The game plan wasn't plan A. This is plan C, right?
Well, according to Tingler, they made that decision during the game. It wasn't pre-game. They realized, oh no, he's going to leave.
It's because
before the
Snell was
fourth.
doing awful.
Yes, he was.
7 earned runs.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
He allowed 7 earned runs in 3 innings. If the offense was going to come back, they had Musgrove gave them the best opportunity for it.
Yeah.
He shut them down.
And listen, you said it you said it. You said that Greinke was going to shut us down. And he did. Greinke provides awkward at bats. That's the name of his game, right? And sure enough, he did. We had a chance once he left, but not. I mean, it's still tough. Like, we came back, got 4 runs back, but it's baseball, and we're tired. It just, to me, it's, if this was a throwaway game anyway, like, I don't know. I go back and forth. I don't. So I go back. This is what troublesome I have. It's like, I think you're right. Right? Having Musgrove gave them an outside chance to get back. Right? Because we've seen it. We'll go over the crazy Tatis game where he ties it with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Right? Because that stuff happens. This team is
we've done it more than once this season.
This team has, lack of a better term, destiny written a little bit over them right now, right? Because these kind of moments keep happening. We're a very good team, so we can win, right? We can come back from that kind of stuff. It's just, to me, if I don't know,
you would have rather have just had. Would you have preferred Paddock pitch 5 innings?
Yeah, I would have.
And just, if we were going to give up the lose by 12 runs?
It's tough though, right? Because like I could be talked into either side. I could be talked into Musgrove gives us the best chance to win because it's going to stop the bleeding, or I could be say, hey, we're just tired. We can't come back from our tiredness, so let's just throw out an inning eater that won't impede our best chances the next game. Right?
Yeah.
What this does tell me, I don't know where I land on it. I think I'd rather have seen Paddock on Sunday. And let him do whatever for 5 innings and just hope.
And he can shut them down?
I think if you put Paddock in there, you're saying you're over the game. Not over it, but like Paddock has not proven to be a destroyer of right-handed bats, and
right-hand and left-handed bats.
Right, that's fair. Both sides.
Musgrove legitimately is has come out as one of the
best breakout pitchers in this year.
Yeah, exactly.
In all the league, yeah.
And I don't know. I think he fell into it. Musgrove was willing to do it. Musgrove has pitched out of the bullpen before in his career. As we know, Paddock is a very, what's the proper term for finicky? I guess the right thing. Like,
yeah,
if you would have pulled
hot and cold, maybe.
Yeah, if you would have pulled him out, not doing his regular routine of taking a start, might not have worked. I don't know. I don't. I think Musgrove had the best chance. I honestly think we should have taken. The biggest thing is, when should we have taken Snell out?
Yeah.
He gave up 4 runs in the first.
Yep.
And 3 runs in the third.
Yep.
The second inning, he didn't look very good either. I don't know. I understand why they kept him in, because their bullpen was dead. And if they could somehow get him to 4 innings, or he could somehow squeeze 5 innings together, it was
not a great situation.
It was not a good situation. No, there was no winning out of that. There was no out of that situation. If the situation was to be saved, it was to shut the Astros down and hope their offense, who has made 3 miraculous comebacks in a row, could do that. 4 miraculous comebacks in a row, because we all made 4 extra innings. But no, it wasn't. I think Musgrove was the best chance we have for another miraculous comeback. It just didn't happen.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna make a bold prediction, James. You ready for this bold prediction?
I am, yes.
If the Padres make the World Series
Okay.
this year, I think we're gonna win, and Joe Musgrove will be the World Series MVP.
All right.
Because any guy that wears that team like that can zero ego. That's what championship players do, right? No ego. Like, he's a dominant starting pitcher who said on a game in May, "Hey, I'll wear 5 innings to give my buddies in the bullpen time off. Oh, and by the way, I'll shut them down."
Yeah, I will. Again, we've seen Joe Musgrove obviously be dominant this year. It's probably the third most dominant I've seen him all year.
The Astros lineup can still bang. They are a good
Not
lineup.
just against trash cans.
Not just against bad trash cans, yeah. They can still hit the ball a lot, and Joe Musgrove silenced them. And to me, if there's a guy that can be like, yeah, I'll pitch every single game of the World Series. I don't care when, how, if, whatever. It's going to be Joe Musgrove, and and I think the hometown boy. I think it's in the cards. I'm going to say that. I think that make the World Series, he's going to be the World Series MVP, because those kind of players, like, it reminds me, that's the kind of thing that Mad Bum did in 2014. Mad Bumgarner was like, I'll do whatever. I'll pitch a full game, and then on game 7, I'll just come in for 5 innings relief. I think that's Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove would do that easily, right? He's that kind of gamer. And that's something that showed me is, like, in-season management, I've questioned kind of like, is this the right move for wins and loss-wise? But shows me there's, like, tons of moxie from Joe Musgrove, and I like that.
It also showed Musgrove is our second best starter.
Oh, yeah.
Like as much if Snell could somehow, I mean, he's going to, but when he turns around and starts pitching like Snell can, but as of right now, Musgrove is our second best starter.
Yeah. So because of this, we're switching to a 5-man rotation until Darvish on Wednesday. So we'll switch back to 6-man after that again. That'll be rough too, because, we're going to have the same problems we have, which is if we have 3 starters that can't make it past the 4th, our bullpen's going to die again. And so this is an issue going forward. Fangraphs did an article today. Today marks the day when GMs start calling each other to get little feelers before the trade deadline. And, of course, that reinvigorates what I think we're going to be doing, if this is the problem come All-Star break, is that we will get some sort of inning eater starter. I think it all depends on how well we are in the All-Star break, the quality and how much we're going to get and how much we want. Because the big name is Max Scherzer. We've talked about that before on other podcasts. But I think we have to be in a place where, like, he will solidify us a run into playoffs deep. So if we're in the All-Star break and we're not doing as well we are now, I don't think we're going to go as ham. But if we're this good in the All-Star break, there's a good chance Max Scherzer gets. There's a good chance Nationals get Mackenzie Gore or Josh Mears or someone like that.
Yes.
Even for Scherzer for half a season. But Scherzer's the kind of guy who will just, like, Scherzer's the kind of guy that will pitch 8 innings and have 5 earned runs. He does not. He's a warrior. He'll get you those innings. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just think if this continues to be a problem, we're going to start.
And
honestly, we're going to see something to fix it.
And if we get another starter like that, we stick to a 5-man rotation, and we can put Weathers or Lamet in the bullpen. And come playoff time, you only need a 4-man rotation for most of the playoffs. And so, yeah, that means maybe even Snell goes in the bullpen.
Do you think that, hypothetical, Padres Farm on Twitter had this tweet? Padres Farm retweeted this. I forget who tweeted it. Maybe it's a Padres Twitter person tweeted, do you think that Josh Mears and Ryan Weathers for Max Scherzer is a good trade. Josh Mears is a very, very. I mean, he in spring training and in this minor league season, hitting the crap out of the ball. They compare him like Giancarlo Stanton, that kind of profile player, and Ryan Weathers, whom we love dearly. 5.5 years of control still on Ryan Weathers. And someone who's proven success in the majors.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'd rather trade Gore than Weathers.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I would rather get rid of. I mean, I would.
How dare you? You get rid of him. You said you don't like Mac Daddy.
Here's the thing about Mackenzie Gore, and I said this in the very, very first couple of podcasts. I want to see him this year.
Yep.
But he's sort of like a myth where he doesn't exist anymore. Like they keep telling us there's this legendary force in our bullpen, in our farm system, while we're starting pitching struggling, but yet we have this legendary force that can't pitch the majors. Meanwhile, Ryan Weathers, who's younger than Mackenzie Gore, who was drafted after Mackenzie Gore, has gone through the entire majors and has now proven himself as a big league player.
In the playoffs
even. Is a way more valuable piece. I say no. If I would rather give up Mackenzie Gore and maybe somebody else could turn him into as good as he's supposed to be. But if you can look down 10 years from now and Ryan Weathers becomes the pitcher he can be, and Mackenzie Gore comes the pitcher he can be, I don't think there's a problem with we kept Weathers instead of Gore. Okay, Weathers has a Cy Young, Gore has a Cy Young. What's the problem here? There is nothing. I would rather keep Weathers, give him an extension. He's proven himself a big league starter, unlike Mackenzie Gore, who can't get out of AAA.
I wonder, too, specifically the Max Scherzer stuff, I wonder what the Nationals actually want. Because Nationals, apart from Steven Strasburg, they just sign big pitchers. That's been their MO. They're not going to get rid of their GM anytime soon, right? So they're just going to sign big pitchers. So come next year, if Scherzer's on the market again, they might very well sign him again.
Well, that's
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nationals trade him and just sign him again. They have so much money, like they could easily just do that again. Like, yeah, come on back. and then they might do the same thing with Clayton Kershaw. He's not ever leaving Los Angeles, but he could potentially. So I wonder if they don't look at their deficiency as pitching, because their whole strategy is you always have to buy good pitching, which has proven to be kind of true, even with the Padres, right? Like, Ryan Weathers is the biggest success. I guess Ryan Weathers and Nelson Lametta both have big successes from our farm
system,
but they're still not Darvish. You're still not that level of. They're not Kershaw, So it's hard to get that top of the line starter.
No, but Ryan Weathers has the most potential. But he's only 21 years old.
Yeah,
and he can strike out big name, big league ball players.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say. I don't think the Nationals actually would want pitching. I think they might want something else. So someone also said Campusano and Mears would be a better idea, because they don't have much depth in the catching in their minor leagues. And Campusano still has a very high ceiling. He's just been screwed over with weird COVID season last year and just being thrown into the majors as a game caller without that much experience. That's rough. It's just there's no one else around it. But he has the hit tools, and he has the potential to be very, very good. So like that, they may like position player depth over.
I'd be okay with that.
Pitching depth, yeah. It means we have zero like young prospects and catchers.
Doesn't mean we won't trade.
We got Webster Rivas though, dude.
Webby can throw from his knees and get people out. That was an impressive play.
He hits homers too.
He hits home runs, yes.
He has more home runs this year than Campusano did.
Yes, and he's played less games. He's also thrown more runners out than Campusano did.
Any other thoughts before we give some praises and move on to the topic, James?
No, I'm good.
People on Padres Twitter need to stop being so down. We've been down before. That was early in the season. We were too sad. But I think we're at the point now where we know the capabilities of the organization. So I'm just going to give some praises to, despite, like, we had more injuries than any other team in baseball. We've not had that length. And Tingler and the organization have done a very, very good job of giving us one of the best records in baseball. I think that putting people in the position to do well is one of the hardest things to do in all of baseball. But the organization have done a very, 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 very good job doing that so far. We're almost at... Are we at 60 games yet?
No.
We're almost there, right? Let me check real fast. Hold on. Where are we at? We're 6 games away. Well, we're potted at 5 games away from 60 games played. So almost all of the season last year. And we're doing better than that.
Yes.
We're doing very, very good. And I think, I have a lot more faith in the game calling, decision-making Tingler this year than I did last year. There's been a lot of good performances that have kind of like, I don't want to say that they've helped Tingler out because good players are supposed to be good. So whatever.
That's why they're on your team. They're on your team to do that. Yes.
But I think Tingler has shown a great ability to relate with the players and pump them up when they need to be pumped up. As an example, on Sunday, him talking to Musgrove, being like, you're super selfless. I mean, obviously, you watched a clip of Tingler talking to, Musgrove. You see a real, honest to gosh, like, bond and, like, pumping up, like, hey, you did an amazing job. We may not have won the win, but you carried the team on your back. And I think that, people need to... I hate to say anything because I bet you next month he just let me stupid and then we're going to criticize them for it. But right now, in this season, I think they've done a very, very good job of managing, of doing the best they can. And I feel like with this team, if the offense is down, there still are key players every game that bring it back up, that have been put there in positions where they can succeed, and they've done pretty well. I just think that we've done, I think, high level, obviously the results speak for themselves. And I think it's make me very, very encouraged the rest of the year. I wasn't as positive on this year as you were, James, at the start of this year. But I think that there's a lot to like from the Padres so far.
I think it's easy to say. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's good.
I think it's easy to say the Padres. No false modesty. Nothing. I legitimately think we have the best coaching staff in baseball. I think Tingler might not be the best manager. He's definitely a good manager. Rothschild is definitely the best pitching coach. Dickerson and Kirby are the 2 best infield coaches I think I've ever seen. We have one of the best coaching staffs that have trained our guys, and just all around, this whole team feels special.
Yeah.
Chase Tingler, I feel the same way. I'm way more comfortable with him leading than this year than I did last year. He's gotten to know his players better. He's gotten to know his team better. And he's in just as much... Nobody planned on having so many people go down before the season even started.
Right.
Nobody planned on having Cy Young award-winning pitchers not pitching very well.
Right.
Nobody planned on having one of your best stars struggle. But all in all, we've come together. And for everybody I read Padres Twitter ever, Andy Green sucked. If I see one more Twitter account, bring back Queen, shut up. Just shut up and find a bridge to jump off of.
Wow, that's rude.
That is rude. But seriously, Andy Green was not a good manager. Andy Green could not have done this.
You're not gonna. You're looking at me like I'm one of those
I know.
people. I have all these burner accounts.
One more
defending
Twitter
Andy Green.
account says, "Oh, I miss Green." No, you don't. It just bugs me. Like Chase Tingler is the best manager the Padres have had since Bruce Bochy. Bud Black was a good manager, but Bruce Bochy understood. You could tell he understood his players and was in the click with his players. Jace Tingler's the same way. Jace Tingler has the respect of his players. They respect him. He respects them. You can see them click. He might make a bad decision here and there, but he owns it.
Yep.
He doesn't go on and says, "Well, the players just need to play better." Andy Green. No, so I'm sorry. He is the best manager the Padres have had since Bruce Bochy, which means he's the second best manager the Padres have ever had.
Yep. One of the all good moments, Tingler, and we'll get off the love train. Tingler to go to another player in a second, but I think Mateo's the Spanish translator wasn't at I forget which game it was. Last week, the Spanish translator wasn't available, so Jace Tingler's translate every single press question for Jorge Mateo. I don't know many managers that would have the skill to do that. No Spanish, and then also be willing to do that in the press, right? It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment to see. Not only he's totally selfless too. I'll be your translator. I'll just sit here and translate English to Spanish and back and forth. I thought it was very cool.
And I remember seeing somebody on Twitter "Who knew Tingler spoke Spanish?"
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think they deserve a lot of praise because a lot of injuries, but we've dealt with it well. A lot of it also because their players doing well. There's certain players doing incredibly well.
MVP type candidate.
We have talked about this player a lot, and it's of no surprise who we're going to talk about next. There's a guy named Fernando Tatis Jr. He's very good, James. He's an exceptional. Yeah. Jeremy Frank had this to say about him. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s last 25 games started. 31 runs, 34 for 93, 7 doubles, 14 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 34 RBIs, 366, batting average, 438, slugging, 892 OPS. That is a 162 game pace of 91 home runs and 65 stolen bases. No one's ever done those two together. No one's hit 76 home runs.
Could you imagine somebody hitting 91 home runs? That would just be insane.
Currently, Tatis is on every 8.5 at bats, he hits a home run. That's bananas.
That is bananas. That's 1 out of every 2 games he'll hit a home run.
I mean, in that game in Houston, we'll go over the recap, but he was 0 for 4, top of the 9th, 2 outs, tying run at the plate. We're down by 3. And he just destroys a baseball.
Hit it out of the park. It was in the park, then it was out of the park.
And you're like, this kid does not people say these stupid things online, oh, he's not clutch. I'm like, buddy, Tatis does not care about the big moments. He obviously does, but gets not phased by him. I just feel like such a special talent, and I don't know. Obviously, we've talked about him enough, and we'll keep talking about him because it's silly.
Until this podcast is ending or he retires, we're going to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr.
It's just so crazy. It's comical how crazy it is. And Jesse Agler said it's a once-in-a-generation talent, and he's a San Diego Padre. And yeah, you're right.
That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. Oh, that's right. He is once-in-a-generational talent, and he's a Padre? Okay. No, it was incredible, and we'll go through it on the rundown the recap episode. But when he popped that ball up and the first baseman of the Astros, Jones, missed it,
he just knew. Don Arcillo said that right after, oh, remember that moment? He knew. We all knew. It was oh, this is a special moment
because the pitcher hit his knees and was deep breathing. Oh, the pitcher's worrying because he's throwing to Tatis Jr. And the pitcher just tried to put a little bit extra on it, but took a little extra off because of pressure and floated a ball to Tatis, and Tatis just did not miss it.
No. It was awesome. And I it's good to be, everyone's a good manager when you have Fernando Tatis Jr. in your lineup.
Yeah, but even when Tatis Jr. doesn't do particularly well.
And I say that, and let me, of course, say he leads the majors, and he still missed 17 games.
I know.
In homers. Like, he's tied for the major league lead in homers, and he missed 17 games.
I know.
So Tingler said those 17 games without Tatis, so he did some managing.
And remember, we did very well in those 17 games too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
dude's unreal.
It's unreal. And when you have somebody like that in your lineup, it makes everybody look better. And we've proven even without Tatis, we're a winning team. Just with Tatis, we're a special winning team.
Oh, I mean, you have these, and I text you all the time. It's real simple. Get on base for Tatis.
Yeah,
that's kind of what's happening. Like, that's a real strategy. Get on base to get him, because everyone knows everyone has like every single hitter has a hot zone where they just destroy baseballs. The problem is when Tatis hits that, it's a guaranteed home run. So it makes it a huge threat. Barry Bonds has the same problem. The same thing, right? People are like, yeah, you can get Barry Bonds out, but if you make one mistake, he's going to capitalize on it, and it's going to ruin your day. And that's the thing with Tatis is if he keeps this 8.5 homers every at bat, every 8.5 pace, he's going to be walked with bases loaded, easy peasy. Like he's already been intentionally walked lots of times already this year. So but if it gets that sustained cartoon level, we're going to see him intentionally walk, which is a problem because he leads, he all of May led in steals. So he's on pace to be the first 50 for 50 player in Major League Baseball history.
It's insane.
I don't know if he'll get there because he'll walk him so much, but he'll get the steal part, I think.
That's insane. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
James, we're obviously we dabble in the Padres. We dabble in time as a podcast topic we talked about earlier. We also dabble in sticky substances, James.
Seems to be every week we talk about sticky substances.
Keeps coming back up. Bob Nightingale of USA Today, questionable baseball writer, sometimes gets it right, sometimes get it wrong, but he talked with Theo Epstein, who's now a consultant with Major League Baseball. One of Theo Epstein's consultancy things, he wants to help him bring baseball back into players' hands to make it more, fair. I don't know. It was hard to understand what Theo Epstein was doing. His thing was like, I want to make it so the players have more control of the game. In the article, they said that over the next 2 weeks, baseball is going to be really hamper down on and really double down and start actually penalizing people that use sticky substances on the ball. I caveat all of it to say it's for Bob Nightingale, who's been famously wrong before, but it is interesting that they're okay with that being a public statement. Maybe it's a public statement to scare pitchers, maybe? What are your thoughts? Bauer did give up 4 home runs yesterday, so maybe he's off the stuff.
That's true. That is true. Maybe it was to scare them, get back. But until I start seeing penalties, it could just be to scare them. It could just be quit doing it. I don't know. It just.
So
it seems like
yeah,
they've changed the ball
yeah,
because they wanted to get rid of sticky substances. Joe West came out and asked a guy to move his hat.
Did we talk about that last episode?
No, we did not.
Okay, I'll talk about that situation. Giovanni Gallegos comes in the game, White Sox Cardinals game. Giovanni Gallegos is a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. He has, like a lot of pitchers do, a brown spot right on the bill of his cap. Mixture of pine tar and rosin tends to be what people use that for. Both legal substances in its own right together mixed would technically be a sticky substance, but no one really cares because they're on the field all the time. Whatever. Joe West says, hey, Gallegos, take the hat off before you start pitching. So Gallegos is like, this is stupid, and gets a new hat. Mike Schilt, manager of the Cardinals, comes out and says, this is real dumb. Except, not those words.
Yeah.
More
Not
colorful
PG
language.
words. Yes.
It gets very mad. It gets thrown out of the game for it. After the game, he's like, "Yeah, this is baseball's dirty little secret. This is not the time and place to police this. This is not the right arena to go through this." And basically, Joe West was like, "Hey, you have a sticky substance. That guy had a sticky substance on his hat. I wanted you to be above reproach. I didn't want anyone to be. I didn't want Tony La Russa causing a fit. I didn't want anyone. So before, I wanted to protect the player by having him remove it." Which I do believe Joe West saying that, right?
Also, I heard Joe West being interviewed, and he said there was something going around about this pitcher. He has to look for his stuff on his hat, and if you see it, like apparently he's on a list of potential people who have sticky substances on their hats.
Saris, just a big analytics guy from the Athletic, said his RPMs per pitch on average only went down 30, which isn't a lot. Because when we talk about RPMs on baseballs, you're often measuring the thousands. So
Yes.
So going down 30 is
30 could have been because it was a day game instead of a night game.
Right,
Yes,
right.
exactly.
So did it matter? No, Gallegos dominated. He still did very well, right? And, sunscreen, rosin are both legal things, right? Rosin, there's a rosin bag on the mound. Right?
Also, and this is another thing I was thinking, Joe West is the leader of the umpires.
Right.
He's the lead. He's the union leader. all the umpires have to go to his college to become MLB umpires. Yep. Also, he's a blues singer. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah,
he has an album.
I'm very aware.
Anyways, he's the head of the union. He's the union president or whatever. He also runs the college that all umpires have to go to become Major League umpires. Him going out and stewing that was sort of sounding Major League Baseball. All right, we're gonna follow along with your quote unquote rules.
Right.
And as the leader of the umpires, I'm gonna do it to show you that we're taking it seriously too. We know this guy has stuff on his hat. It's very noticeable.
Right.
But also, he didn't kick the guy out. He just said, change your hat.
Right. I did think it was the right thing to do. Right.
I think it might not have been come down from Major League Baseball. This could have been the umpires getting a bunch of stuff from Major League Baseball to police it more. Joe West like, I'll do it. Yeah. I'm the leader here. I'll do it.
I just passed the most umpired games ever. What are they going to do? Fire me?
Exactly. This is his last year in the majors anyways. He said he's retiring after this. That's what he says, yeah. Well, he's got to get back to those blues. He's a blues singer. A country singer, I know.
I think it's the right thing. I don't know if it's the right thing. I think he handled it the right way. I don't know if it... I think Mike Schilt's comment was it's not the right arena to police it is correct. This should have been if Major League Baseball starts doing this, it needs to be like a press release to the clubs, like, hey, we're gonna hammer this down. So, like, don't tell players the rules. Like, don't tell them like, oh, we're hammering down in the middle of a game. Like, tell the players, hey, we know because outfielders are picking up balls that have glue on them, that have strands of glue on them still. That this is a problem. So don't do it anymore. You can use and they can say something like this. We're not telling you can't use sunscreen. We're not telling you can't use rosin. Those are both legal substances. People are you're gonna put sunscreen on. You're gonna use the rosin. Okay? That's fine. You know what increases RPM by 600 RPM? Literal glue. Literal glue.
Yeah, exactly. Good old Elmer.
It's just, I'm interested to see if they actually do something about it. I think it's now like Mike Schilt's comment was very public in Major League Baseball, like news circles. I think they have to do something this year. We talked about this before. They have to do something this year to just increase the offense in general. I think that mixtured with my hope and dreams of DH in the NL by All-Star break, we're Gucci, baby. And the ball's warming up, James. Sunday afternoon baseball games, seeing some home runs. Yeah, baby. Baseball's back. Baseball's always been back. I very much
Have you not been here last couple of weeks? We've been doing a podcast.
I've had a very good time watching baseball this year. This is probably I know my happiness towards baseball is indicated by the record Padres have. I understand my bias, but yeah, I'm having a good time watching Padres
baseball is so much fun to watch. It really is. So what do you think is the biggest surprise this early on in the season for you?
I'm surprised.
And why is it the San Francisco Giants?
Yeah. The Giants show me. Okay, so I have a whole thing about this. So the Giants are a mixture of the Rays and the Nationals. 2019 Nationals were a bunch of older guys, and the Rays are very tricky, right? Farhan Zaidi came from the Athletics, Dodgers to Giants, and Athletics and Dodgers are very similar to the Rays methodology, which is like, hey, we're going to expose, Athletics famously Moneyball, so they're always trying to find ways to increase output from underperforming players that people aren't looking for. Market inefficiencies, as they say. And I think what they do is they say, hey, Evan Longoria, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Buster Posey, don't swing at any of these pitches. Swing at these pitches, right? Because the Giants can still be beaten like any other team, but the players that they have are just making much better choices at the plate. And the players that are young, Mauricio Dubon and other players like that, Wilmer Flores, like they're being told the same thing, like, hey, just focus on these things and just do them well. They're going to have an issue if and their starting pitching is doing very good, but if one of their starting pitchers goes down, it's problematic. I don't think they don't have a deep enough pen to do the Padres are doing, right? And the back end of their bullpen, Taylor Rada and Jake McGee. This isn't a Giants podcast, but I'll just go and talk about the Giants anyway. They're problematic. They both are people that can go long-ish throughout the season, but like they're both exposable. Like, I don't know. It's a surprise to me that they're doing so well, but it's not surprising that the offense is doing so well, because I think that those guys are all professional hitters, and if they're told, given good analytics, like here's where you succeed, just double down on where you succeed. That's the whole thing the Rays do. It's like you're not like Mike Brosseau isn't a Rays guy, isn't a great against righty hitter, so he's never going to face a righty pitcher, right? But here's where you do succeed there, and so. I'm surprised that the NL West has three of the best teams in baseball. I didn't think the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants were all going to have great records. That's definitely the biggest surprise.
I agree. Mine is, and you told me at the beginning of the season this was going to happen. I thought you were a fool. How are the Rays still good?
I told you, buddy.
I don't understand it. Like
as of right now, as according to this podcast, they now have the best record in baseball. They're tricky, buddy.
How is that possible? It blows my mind, and I'm looking forward to beating them in the World Series.
This is a microcosm of the Rays. They have an absolute stud shortstop in the number one prospect in all of baseball, Wander Franco. Dude's a literal monster. The Brewers have our old shortstop, Luis Arias, who's not doing so well. Like, hey, we need someone who's actually good shortstop who can field. Hey, Rays, we'll trade for William Adames. And everyone's like, oh my goodness, here comes Wander Franco Taylor Walls comes up. Some guy named Taylor Walls. They're like, well, Taylor Walls is a good AAA season, but he's no Wander Franco. What are they doing? And Taylor Walls, of course, doing great. The Rays have a different way of looking at things. They know exactly, like everyone assumes there's a hole, you have best prospect in baseball, the shortstop, he's coming up. No. They know what they want. They know how to, like, they also predict at like weeks ahead of time what kind of pitching they're going to see. So they construct lineups so far in advance based upon their depth, and they can't do anything else in that stupid ballpark, right? They don't get fans. So all they spend their money on is like these dorks who just like me, who would just sit around and make lineups all day and just like, oh, see this guy against this pitcher, he's good.
It really is frustrating that you have a team that's so good, it's been so good for so long, but they can't get a fan base.
They will when they are half playing time in Montreal, James.
Sure. Because Montreal, one thing they were known for was epic fans. You know, they only sold out one game in the last 5 years of their existence.
If our loyal listeners don't know, the owner of the Rays, notably stingy person, has said that he's considering having the Tampa Bay Rays play half of their games in Montreal, being a split city team. Because you know what's cool with a job is having two residences to work at your job. Who gets
but like I
playoff?
said, Montreal had, in the last 5 years they were a team, had only one sold out game. And you know what that was? It was the game Tony Gwynn got his 3,000 hit. Not because it was sold out, it's because they kept on selling tickets for that game after it happened. Our uncle has two tickets from that game, and he bought it a week after the game happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If the Rays are always good, and it's just frustrating. Someone explained to me that like the Rays, they don't do a good enough job in Tampa. They're in they're in a pretty rough part of Tampa to get to. But then you're also being there is weird, and the stadium's ugly. I don't know. They're weird. They're just weird. Like apart from their actual like being so good all the time, it's also one of those things where like they've never really had a star the past 5 years. Like a Randy Arozarena is their star now, I guess. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
They sold Blake Snell to us. That's it, right? I mean, that's just Yankees people talk about all the time. Is like, why do we have stars if we just can be the Rays?
Exactly. Yeah.
They just find a way, man, and that stupid bullpen of theirs is stupid. Just they find a way to get these guys like, oh, I throw from a -5 degree arm angle, but I can throw 500. Woohoo! It's just like, where are these people? Yeah, I don't know. I told you, man. Did I say that they're going to be they're in the World Series again?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I? Yeah, man. But when the Padres beat them in the World Series with Joe Musgrove as their World Series MVP, it'll all feel even better.
That would be great. That would be excellent.
Before we leave, James, I have a question for you. What American frontiersman would be the best modern baseball player? Jim Bowie, David Crockett, Lewis and Clark.
Can I pick mythical?
A mythical American frontiersman?
Yeah.
It's like a Paul Bunyan.
I was thinking Paul Bunyan. Yeah.
I was like, who's mythical? John Henry? Paul Bunyan?
So either Paul Bunyan or John Henry.
They have the axe motion.
They have the axe motion, the hammer motion. And also, since they're mythical, they could be less racist.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good pick, Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. Or John Henry.
Yeah, I'll probably pick John Henry after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Got that. They have the arm strength.
Yeah, exactly. They can hit a home run.
Yeah.
If you could drive a spike with one swing or cut down a tree with just two chops, you can hit a ball.
Yeah. With that stirring insight, James, I'd like to remind our listeners to please subscribe on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Twitter at Brothers Padre. Follow us. I post funny things from time to time. And yeah, until next time, until the recap episode, good day, everybody.
Good day.
There it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby!